Hello everyone, I hope everybody's doing well. So this is the new Garda Commissioner, Justin Kelly. He's been in Garda Síochána for the last 30 years, which is great, as you know, a former Garda Commissioner. It takes me the Garda he's gone, Drew Howes. Was in MI6 and MI5, so imagine he wasn't even in Garda Síochána, but we got him into as the Commissioner from Garda Síochána, even though he has leaks to MI5 and MI6. But of course, we done that because logic. But yeah, he was the worst Garda Commissioner in the history of the state. Nobody can really deny it. Because quite literally, to put it straightforward, the country's become more dangerous now than ever. Literally, when the troubles were going on, it was nearly more safer than nowadays because you couldn't really go outside the street. Years ago, there was no such thing as children getting stabbed outside their schools, etc., etc. The crimes that we never thought would happen are happening in Ireland. It's insane. And the Garda Commissioner has facilitated it and allowed it to happen. And of course, not to mention the Gardaí have a habit now of beating up old women protesting against direct provision sectors when they won't beat up the people causing the trouble. They have a habit of doing that. But yeah, we'll talk about this, what the Garda Commissioner said, and then about this new big SWAT vehicle they've bought. Of course, the Irish taxpayer paid for it, of course. They didn't buy it. We're happily facilitating it, let's put it that way. So now the Garda Commissioner, when he was first day in the role, I suppose, has said that more Gardaí should have stun guns, tasers, in other words. Now, as you know, as I said there a second ago, the country has become more dangerous. Nobody can deny that. Everybody can realise that. Everybody can see it on the streets. But it's a queer step, even during the darkest days of the Troubles, as you know. The only rank and file members from Garda Síochána were never armed with a gun or with a rifle or anything. We had armed supporting with detectives, of course, but there was the only guard that was on the beat didn't have a gun, didn't have a taser, only had his baton, and that was it. And it would be a sad state of affairs if we have to go around now giving Gardaí tasers or guns, God forbid. And I'm extremely against giving them guns. We never had it in this country, and I don't think we should give them guns because let's be fair, a lot of members of Garda Síochána now, because simply they can't get any recruits for the Gardaí. A lot of Gardaí have left for the sake of it, because the Gardaí are the biggest criminal gang in the state, you have to remember. I can't tell you how many cases I've seen the last few weeks of Gardaí being up in court for sexually abusing people, for hitting people, for killing people, God only knows what else, doing drugs. They're the biggest criminal gang themselves. And they talk about the criminals that were locked up in prison. Like the people that don't know Garda Síochána seem to be the biggest criminals going. We see the Gardaí now, a lot of them are not nearly properly vetted. They don't look into their background, they just kind of hire them for diversity, etc., etc., etc. That's again the Gardaí we have nowadays. And not to mention a lot of Gardaí have been doing drugs, a lot of them, because a lot of the ways some of the Gardaí are behaving now, it's ridiculous. We've seen recently enough in Dublin, just a few weeks ago, a man was urinating on the street. Now you're obviously not supposed to urinate on the street, it could be just being detained or being allowed to sober up from the Garda station. But long story short, the Garda pushed him and he basically cracked his skull, and that was the end of him. So yeah, there's some Gardaí that have serious issues in terms of being in the police force at all. They shouldn't be anywhere near it, because a lot of them are mentally disturbed, to be told, Lindsay, and a lot of them are alcoholics and God knows what else. Because that's the kind of people we have in the Garda Síochána nowadays. Nowadays we don't have good people in the Garda Síochána. We seem to pick the worst people in society to be Gardaí. People who are not fit to be Gardaí. But Justin Kelly, personally, I do wish him well, of course, in his new role. It's good to see an actual Garda that was there for the last 30 years getting it. It's good to see it. He deserves some more than Drew Howes, let's put it that way. And it's good to see an Irishman being in Garda Síochána than somebody that wasn't even born in the state, Drew Howes, for example. But yeah, he has a lot of work to do. Because the Gardaí are a hard mess at the moment. It's a disgrace the way the Gardaí is at the moment. Nobody wants to join. The only people that can get now are non-nationals, non-Irish people to join on Garda Síochána. They can't get any Irish people to join it because the Irish people have seen what happened in Newtown, Mount Kennedy and other places where the Gardaí have basically pushed local people out of the way, kicked them, beat them, to facilitate the government's actions. Basically, they serve the government, they don't serve the people. They're not keepers of the peace. They're not servants of the people, they're servants of the government. And I don't think Justin Kelly is going to have any guts to say no to the government when they ask them to do something. Take for example, we see at the moment they want to take down Irish flags, and they're talking to the Gardaí about taking down the Irish flags because the councilmen won't do it. But obviously that's not the Garda's job. But we'll see what happens there. But Justin Kelly be well tested if that does happen, because it would be a waste of resources for having the Garda running around taking down flags. Now we move on to this. So this is a big armoured vehicle, pretty much. It's bomb-proof, bulletproof, etc. And now, as you know, thankfully, the country is not that bad. Obviously there's gangs, etc., but there hasn't been much terrorism, thanks be to God. But the only way to stop terrorism, if we stop bringing in people that we don't even know about and check them properly, anybody that's coming to the country, check them fully, and don't just wave them on with no passports. We check every detail before we let them in. Every inch of their passport we look at the whole background, X, Y, and so we're not let them in a step into the country unless we know who they are and where they're coming from and why they're here. That's how you stop terrorism. And then obviously there's domestic terrorism too, in terms of people being radicalised. We've seen with the fellow in Galway recently stabbing the army chaplain. He was radicalised by ISIS online. That's another thing too, but we have to look in. We have to try and find ways of stopping that from happening. Not to mention there's gangland, etc. But obviously shootings. There is shootings now and again, but it doesn't justify, in my opinion, having this big armoured vehicle, because really pretty much, unless there was somebody with an assault, like it's very rarely you see people with assault rifles, except they're not allowed in this country unless it's the black market, etc. But I don't think it's a worthwhile purchase, because I don't think it'd be used that much, first of all. And not to mention, if God forbid something happened, say for example in Sligo and it's in Dublin, it's a heavily armoured yoke. It's going to take 4 or 5 hours, maybe even 10 hours to get to Sligo from Dublin, because it's that heavy. Like, it wouldn't be able to go that fast because it's armoured, heavily armoured. It'd take 10 hours before it even gets there. But I don't see it has a purpose, to be totally honest, and I don't think the price tag too. I don't think it would have much use, pretty much. Because usually gangland stuff too, the Gardaí have raided many gangland places and without armoured cars, etc. And they didn't need them then, so I don't think they need them now. But anyway, let me know what you think, subscribe for more, and bye.